I know every one of us knows something or the other, and we have our own conception. So I think we can share our views. Okay, so that will be better. Otherwise, it so happens now one way,
One-way
Preeti ma'am,
communication.
one
Yes.
way communication becomes boring after some time.
Yes, madam. Very true.
That is it. So today, I wish that more and more people interact. So we still have 3 minutes to go, Preeti ma'am.
Yes, madam. Yes. It's 10:57.
Yeah, yeah. I'm here. Just
Yes. Yes. Yes, madam. Okay. Yes, madam. It's 11 o'clock. Shall we start? Yeah. Good morning, all of you. Today, once again, we have among us respected Dr. Debjani Roy, madam. Madam, I once again welcome you on behalf of UGC HRDC Nagpur in this short-term course on gender sensitization. I request you, ma'am, to please start your today's session.
thank you, Preeti ma'am. I'm happy to be back with all of you once again. I thank Dr. Dete, who is the director of HRDC Nagpur, for having invited me once again, and of course Preeti ma'am, who is so active in organizing all these short-term and long-term courses. Participants, by now you must be into this gender thing. You must have you have gone inside and you have absorbed something of gender. Today we will be talking about gender diversity in higher education institutions. All of us are from higher education institutions, so we have diversity within the campus. How to deal with diversity within the campus and what NEP 2020 says about diversity, those are the two main things that I will be dealing with today. So my presentation will also be divided into two parts. The first part will be mainly about gender diversity, and not only gender diversity, I will first deal with what is diversity, because You see, we live in a society, there is so much of differences, so much of diversity, and we often say India is a country unity in diversity because हर 50 किलोमीटर में भाषा बदलता है, लोगों का कल्चर बदलता है, that is what we say. तो अगर हर 50-100 किलोमीटर के बाद आपकी भाषा बदलती जाती है, आपका कल्चर संस्कृति बदलता जाता है, तो डाइवर्सिटी तो है, समाज में डाइवर्सिटी है, समाज में डाइवर्सिटी, वो डाइवर्सिटी हमारे हायर एजुकेशन में भी है. बट द क्वेश्चन इज दैट व्हाई हायर एजुकेशन? क्या ये स्कूल्स में नहीं है? हाँ, स्कूल्स में है, लेकिन स्कूल्स में बच्चे उतने अवेयर नहीं होते हैं अपने आइडेंटिटी को लेके. जैसे वो बड़े हो जाते हैं, व्हेन दे ग्रो अप, दे आर मोर अवेयर ऑफ देयर आइडेंटिटी. And the other day I was discussing that how the identity uh, becomes known to the person after the age of, say, 10, 11, 12, when the person reaches adolescence. 3-4 साल तक तो बच्चे को पता ही नहीं होता है कि वो क्या है. Whatever the parents tell the child will believe the child. Then the child starts going to school. There the child meets many other people. And then he or she learns about diversity. So by the time वो बच्चा बड़े होके हायर एजुकेशन में आता है, सो देर इज अ लॉट ऑफ डाइवर्सिटी. एंड अगर आप किसी कॉलेज में एंट्रेंस का फॉर्म, जो भरने का फॉर्म देखेंगे, तो उसमें इट इज क्लियरली मेंशन, you have to write about your name, your father's name, your father's profession, father's income, caste, you have to give your religion, you have to give your nationality. Why so many things? This is because we are inviting diversity. It is not that if you belong to a particular caste or religion, or if you speak a language, you will not be taken. The more diverse an institution is, the better it is for its growth. But then at the same time, there is another term that comes with diversity, that is inclusivity. जितना इंक्लूसिव हम बनाएंगे अपने हायर एजुकेशनल इंस्टीट्यूशन को, उतना ही हमारे लिए ग्रोथ में सुविधा होगी. और एनईपी 2020 इसी बात को री इन्फोर्स कर रही है कि आपको एजुकेशन इंक्लूसिव करना है. इंक्लूसिव करने का मतलब ये नहीं है कि आप एजुकेशन को एक सर्टेन क्राइटेरिया तक ही लिमिटेड रखे. आपको फैलाना है, देश भर में फैलाना है, कोने कोने में फैलाना है, और हर समाज, हर जाति, सबको, सबके अंदर एजुकेशन ले जाना है. दैट इज इंक्लूसिविटी. में जो आए उनको भी आपको लेना है. दैट इज ऑल्सो इंक्लूसिविटी. So today we are going to discuss about gender diversity in higher education institution, how to deal with that. हम जब teachers होते हैं, how do we deal with this diversity? Because teachers also come from diverse background. That also I will be dealing with it. There are gender stereotypes that also I will be dealing with. And finally, when we come to that portion where NEP talks about inclusivity, जब NEP 2020 हमें इंक्लूसिवनेस के बारे में बात करता है, तो वो कहाँ तक सार्थक है, कहाँ तक वो प्रैक्टिकल है, कहाँ तक वो प्रायोगिक है, वो हमें सोचना है. बिकॉज हमारे देश में, एज आई सेड, there is a lot of diversity and we are aware of the diversity also. But I will say that even in the West, there is diversity in a different kind. You go to any American university, you will find different colors. You will find blacks, you will find browns, you will find yellow people, you will find different people coming from different countries of the world. So there is diversity, there's language diversity, everything. So today, let me start with sharing of my screen, and then as I go on and on, maybe I will switch on and switch off between sharing of screen. Preeti ma'am, am I allowed to share my screen?
Yes, madam, you are having that option.
Okay. Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, it is visible, ma'am.
It is visible, no?
Yeah.
So this is my first slide, which gives the title of the lecture. Want to a picture, it's a collage. If you see the collage talks about student diversity. What is student diversity? Now, before I address the concept of gender diversity, I would like to discuss the concept of diversity only. सबसे पहले हम डाइवर्सिटी को डिस्कस करेंगे, उसके बाद जेंडर डाइवर्सिटी को डिस्कस करेंगे. सो डाइवर्सिटी इज अ टर्म दैट कैन हैव डिफरेंट मीनिंग्स depending on the content or the context, because gender cannot be studied in isolation. You cannot just say that I am studying gender, I don't need to talk about diversity. Gender is a part of diversity, and diversity means different types of diversity. If you see the first picture over here, there are two wheelchairs, which means that diversity means that you have to you can have especially able people, like now we call them Divyanjan. So these are the specially able people. NAC, when you go for NAC accreditation, you are filling up your AQAR and SSR. Then these are the questions that are asked. Is your institution Divyanjan friendly? Meaning that if there are people on wheelchairs, uh, will your college be able to admit those students? If your college is having only staircase, no lift, no ramp, then the students will find it difficult to go to second floor or first their classes. You can't have all the classes on one floor. So this is a question they ask. The NAC people, they ask this question: is your um, uh, college, is your institution Divyanjan friendly? So I have put this picture over here. There are two people sitting on the wheelchair. Why have I done this? Because diversity matters in higher education. If we do not consider diversity, then we cannot grow. We have to have diversity. The more diverse the institution is, the better it is for its growth. Diversity means different ways of thinking, different perspectives, different experiences, different races, different gender, different physical abilities, different age groups, different skills, different nationality. Now, this is an amalgamation. I have put in all that can be there in diversity in this corner of the slide. Also, I have used this slide, which talks about diversity, which means we give equality, we have inclusion, and that cannot be only related to gender. It can be related to race, it can be related to culture, it can be related to religion, community, caste, whatever it is, ethnic, so on and so पिक्चर है, इसमें मैंने अलग अलग रंग रूप के लोगों का पिक्चर दिया है, ताकि आपको समझ में आ जाए कि डाइवर्सिटी मतलब सब एक ही जगह है, सब अलग अलग जगह से है, लेकिन सब एक ही जगह है. Now, I move on to the second thing is, before we go on to gender, we should first discuss again the concept of gender. On the other day, on Monday, I was discussing the concept of gender, जहां मैंने कहा कि gender is a social construct, sex is a biological construct. शायद आपके दिमाग में है ये बात. तो मैं इसको kindly see that sex is biological. Sex is related to childbirth. A child is born with a specific sex. Biologically, the body, the anatomy of the body will say whether the child is a male child or the child is a female child. Then, when the child grows up, the child will develop secondary sexual organs like beards and facial hair, this, that. Women and men, they all have the voice will turn, and the base of the voice will change and all that. And Finally, you cannot change the sex until and unless you go for surgical procedure. If you just want yourself to change from a boy to a girl or from a girl to a boy, you can't do that without medical assistance. ये है sex. Clear about it? Now we move on to gender. अब जेंडर क्या है? अगर सेक्स इज अ बायोलॉजिकल कंस्ट्रक्ट, जेंडर इज अ सोशल कंस्ट्रक्ट. सबसे पहले डिफरेंस तो यही होता है कि इट इज अ सोशल कंस्ट्रक्ट. Then, secondly, it has something to do with child care, not childbirth. How the child is reared, how the child is brought up, that matters a lot. If the child is brought up and in his mind he's constantly told that you are my son, in spite of the fact that the child is a female child, then the child will grow up with that thought in mind that I am a male. And that is what makes the difference between sex and gender. Gender is over here, sex is in the body, gender is in the mind. What the family, what the society will tell the child will start to believe that. So it has something to do with upbringing, it has something to do with child care. Third is that gender changes easily in the sense that you can, if you want, you can pretend to be someone else because you're not comfortable with your body. You can dress up differently, you can behave differently because you feel as if you are not, uh, you know, associating yourself with the body which you're having. Then, fourthly, it is the decision. It is the decision of the person, the child, when he grows up, to whether to keep the same sex or whether to change the sex. So, when the person changes the sex, automatically the gender will also change. So what I'm trying to say is that the gender it's a social construct because it is given by the society, it's given by the family, and that will determine how the child grows up. While growing up, he will have some feelings in his mind, and with those feelings, he may want to change his appearance, he may want to make certain changes in him. He's free to do that, and it is he who decides or she who decides what the person wants. You cannot decide. You are with that particular physical anatomy. You cannot decide. If you want to change it, you have to go for a surgical procedure. So this is what the concept of gender is. I hope I'm able to make things very clear by this explanation. If you have any questions, you can ask me. So now I move to another thing, which is gender difference within the campus. Now, what happens when you enter the campus? In a campus, if you are coming from a co-educational institution, if you are teaching in a co-educational institution, then obviously there will be a physical difference between the boy and the girl, between the male teacher and the female teacher. There will be differences. So these things are very common. Boys will behave differently, girls will behave differently. Girls usually tend to be quieter, boys tend to be a little rough, more active maybe. Yes, voice is very less. Who is saying this? Is my voice low?
No, madam, all okay.
Okay, no, someone just made a comment. I am not sure whether that was in the chat box.
बाकी
Someone,
पार्टिसिपेंट्स आपको सुनाई दे
yeah,
रहा है बराबर?
सुनाई दे रहा है?
अनम्यूट करके बताइए.
रिपीटेशन हो रहा है. सुनाई दे रहा है.
इट्स
Thank
आ
you,
रही आवाज
thank
आ रही.
जी.
ठीक है. और आपको ना जो कमेंट करना है आप चैट बॉक्स में मुझे दिख रहा है चैट बॉक्स, मुझे अभी दिखा वॉइस इज लेस, तो मेरे को लग रहा है कि मैडम जिन्होंने भी कहा है उन्होंने ये कहा है कि बॉयज एंड गर्ल्स में, हाँ, आवाज जो है लड़कियों का श्रिल होता है, जब बात करते हैं तो पुरुषों की आवाज सुनाई देती है, थोड़ा लाउड होता है। तो वो तो होता ही है बिकॉज जब ग्रुप में बॉयज बात कर रहे हैं और जब ग्रुप में गर्ल्स बात कर रही हैं, दोनों में डिफरेंसेस नजर आता है। गर्ल्स यूजुअली थोड़ी शांत किस्म की होती है या उनका वॉइस का लेवल उतना नहीं होता है। एंड बट एट द सेम टाइम जब हम बारी आती है कि फिजिकली अगर आप देखें, अगर टग ऑफ वॉर खिलाना हो दोनों में, लड़का और लड़कियों में, यू विल फाइंड दैट बॉयज आर मच मोर physically stronger than girls. Even if girls are taller, boys tend to be physically stronger, may or may not be, but there is a difference. Social difference in gender roles. What is a social difference? Social difference means, uh, see, how boys behave socially and how girls behave socially are two different things. Girls usually, they like to mix with two or three friends. They are sitting together, they are chatting. लड़के जब बात करते हैं तब वो थोड़ी ऊंची आवाज में बात करते हैं, ग्रुप में बात करते हैं, एक दूसरे को थप्पड़ मार रहे हैं, फिजिकल भी हो जाते हैं। लड़कियां बहुत जल्दी फिजिकल नहीं होती हैं। अगर उनको कोई भी इमोशन दिखाना भी होगा तो वो उसको संभाल के रखेगी, बाद में दिखाएगी। हो सकता है आप दो लड़कियों को बात करते देखेंगे तो एकदम जस्ट लाइक स्लैपिंग एट द बैक एंड ऑल, इस टाइप का नहीं होता। बॉयज में ये बहुत कॉमन है। सो बॉयज tend to be a little more relaxed in a society. Openly they are more open to physical touching and holding hands or slapping each other, ऐसा करते हैं। और ग्रुप एक्टिविटीज में भी अगर हम लड़के और लड़कियों को रखें तो बहुत समय ऐसा होता है कि लड़कियों को लड़के ओवरशैडो कर जाते हैं। ओवरशैडो कर जाते हैं इसका मतलब है कि उनकी आवाज ऊंची होती है। तो कभी नुक्कड़ नाटक कर रहे हैं तो नुक्कड़ नाटक में या कोई भी नाटक भी कर रहे हैं तो जहां वॉइस को ऊंचा उठाने की जरूरत होती है तो लड़कों की आवाज ऊंची हो जाती है, क्योंकि उनके आवाज का जो बेस होता है वो अलग होता है लड़कियों की आवाज के बेस से। अनदर थिंग, आप सोसाइटी में देखेंगे कि लड़कियां hesitate करती है, they hesitate to speak up. Boys are much more open, they can speak up, they will not be hesitant. I come from a girls college, I teach in a girls college, and this is a problem which I feel many of you must, who are teaching in girls colleges, they must be feeling this. लड़कियों से बात कराना बहुत बहुत मुश्किल हो जाता है। they somehow like to be cocooned, अपने शेल में रहते हैं, बात नहीं करते हैं, या बहुत कोक्स कर बोलिए तब वो बोलने लगते हैं। हाँ, ये जनरल नहीं है कि सारी लड़कियां ऐसी होती है, ऐसा नहीं है। कुछ लड़कियां ऐसी होती है, कुछ लड़कियां ऐसा नहीं होती है, लेकिन ज्यादातर हम देखते हैं कि इस टाइप का बिहेवियर लड़कियों में बहुत कॉमन है। फिर जब आवाज उनकी वहां तक नहीं पहुंचती, when their voice level is not that high, then sometimes what happens, their voices are not heard also. So in a class where there is a lot of shouting going on and a teacher is entering the class, so a girl might want to say something, a boy might also want to say something, but the teacher will hear the boy's voice because that is louder and clearer. In case of the girl, it is not like that. So that is the social difference in gender roles. Also, we have sometimes a girl who might be a little tomboyish, or a boy who might be a little effeminate. वो भी होता है. So those are also, seen by the society. अरे ये लड़का जो है behave होता है. So that is something that is common in the campus, that's common in the society. और उसके लिए तो we cannot blame the girl or the boy, we can only blame the society for thinking in those terms. कि why is the girl behaving like this? Because we associate stereotypes. ये लड़की है, इसको ऐसे बिहेव करना है, ये लड़का है, इसको ऐसे बिहेव करना है. दैट इज द स्टीरियोटाइप दैट वी एसोसिएट विद जेंडर. ओके, then I come to the third part, which is academic or cognitive difference in gender. क्या लड़के और लड़कियों के कॉग्निटिव बिहेवियर यानी बुद्धि में is there a difference between girls and boys? Now, this is the question I'm asking you. Please put in your answer in the chat box. I want to know what you feel about it before I take it up. 1 minute just time लीजिए और डाल दीजिए आपका आपकी क्या राय है, so that I can have a feeling of whether you think that there is an academic or cognitive difference in gender. लड़के और लड़कियों के ब्रेन्स के बीच में या एकेडमिक परफॉर्मेंस के बीच में कोई डिफरेंस है या नहीं? आपको क्या लगता है? आप अपनी राय जल्दी से दीजिए ताकि मैं आगे बढ़ सकूं. Is there actually a difference?
Yes, madam. सुनाई दे रहा है.
Girls are normally more sincere than boys.
Dr. Mamta, very good. Girls are more sincere. Do you come from a girls' college, Dr. Mamta?
No.
You are teaching in a co-ed college?
Yes, ma'am. But normally, I observe that the girls are more sincere. Also, they following our instructions more properly than boys. Boys are slightly distracted.
Shivashish Bose, these days girls perform better than boys in study. So Shivashish Bose, Dr. Mamta, does that mean that girls are more brainy than boys? क्या
Yes,
आपको ऐसा लगता है? डॉक्टर सुनील यशवंत, क्या आपको ऐसा लगता है
हाँ.
कि लड़कियां ज्यादा तेज है?
हाँ, यस, क्योंकि लड़कियां उनकी सिंसियरिटी रहने के कारण जो भी इंस्ट्रक्शंस या जो भी मिलता है उनको ध्यान से सुनकर बड़े लगन के साथ वो करती है, इसलिए वो सक्सेस भी होती है.
इसलिए सक्सेस होती है. आपने
हाँ.
आप तीनों ने शिवाशीष एंड डॉक्टर ममता एंड डॉक्टर सुनील, ऑल ऑफ यू, बहुत यू हैव राइटली सेड दैट गर्ल्स टेंड टू डू बेटर देन बॉयज, दे परफॉर्मिंग बेटर देन बॉयज, दे मोर सिंसियर देन बॉयज. बट at the same time, my question was, is there a cognitive difference? Is there a difference in the intelligence or the grasping power or something like that? Well, it has not been proven. ये कभी प्रूव नहीं हुआ है कि लड़कियों का ब्रेन लड़कों के ब्रेन से अलग है. ब्रेन सब ह्यूमन बीइंग्स के ही सेम होते हैं. इट हैज नॉट बीन प्रूवन कि उनके ब्रेन में ज्यादा ग्रे मैटर है और लड़कियों के ब्रेन में कम ग्रे मैटर है. ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. आप लोगों ने एकदम सही कहा है कि लड़कियों के बिहेवियर में वो चेंज आता है. लड़कियां ज्यादा सिंसियर होती हैं, सो दे परफॉर्म better. So as teachers, what do? We have to, we are generally inclined towards people who are more sincere. होता है automatic.
Yes,
Whoever
ma'am.
is a sincere student, yes, whether it's a girl or a boy, whoever is sincere, whoever is doing the work, whoever is responding, we feel कि हाँ ये है अच्छा बच्चा. लेकिन the thing is that we cannot afford to do that. We have to treat everyone equally, and that brings me to the fourth point, attention paid. ये attention paid वाला चीज जो होता है ना, as teachers, because here we are all teachers and we are discussing diversity in higher education institution. We are discussing differences in the campus. Now, attention paid, we tend to pay more attention to people who obviously are more open, who come up with more, answers, or who are quick to deliver. So our attention is more towards them. We tend to pay more attention towards those students. इसमें मेल भी हो सकते हैं, फीमेल भी हो सकता है. जनरली ये हो सकता है कि जो हमारा जो भी हम बोल रहे हैं उसको सही पकड़ ले, उसको सही से कर ले, वी आर मोर इंक्लाइंड टुवर्ड्स दैट पर्सन. एंड इफ दैट हैपेंस टू बी अ मेल, वी आर नॉट बीइंग इंक्लूसिव. तो हमारा ये, हम अपने आप को कंट्रोल करने का तरीका ये होना चाहिए कि we should have give equal attention, which is obviously not a very practical solution, but we have to try, because as I go through my lecture, I will say how mentoring and other things also come in over here. The fifth point is public versus private talk. A public versus private talk makes, when we talk with boys, the talk is more business-like. Even if a male teacher goes and talks with male students, क्या करता है वो male teacher? वो students के कंधों पर हाथ रख के भी उसको समझा सकता है. वही teacher, the same male teacher will not be able to do this with the girl student, because there should be a distance that is expected. Okay, so with girls, it is more of a nurturing type. With girls, the behavior changes. It's not the pally type of a behavior that we have. So what happens is that in whether it is publicly you're talking, you're addressing the girls or you're addressing the boys, or whether it is privately you're doing it. If you are a male, you are comfortable with the male students. If you are a female, you're comfortable more with the female students. So this is what happens. Gender, both ways, whether it is within the students, whether it is within the faculty, it is usually noticed that gender will be in a linear manner. It will not be in this manner that a male teacher is being very friendly with girls. ऐसा होता नहीं है और इसको अच्छे से देखा भी नहीं जाता. So this public or private talk, it is the gender is usually, it moves in a unidimensional direction. So it is, if a male teacher is there, the male teacher's behavior with the male students will be uh, एक तरह का होगा. Male teacher का behavior with female students will be something else. Now distributing praise and criticism. Now here comes a very important factor. Sometimes, we as teachers, we tend to overlook certain things. एक लड़की बड़ी शांत स्वभाव की, बहुत अच्छा कुछ बनाती है, रंगोली बनाती है, या अल्पना बनाती है, या कोई ड्राइंग बनाती है, सजाती है, and okay, we are noticing it, but maybe we are not saying it because the girl is very quiet. वहीं पर एक लड़का जो मे बी ही इज प्लेइंग एन इंस्ट्रूमेंट, वो इंस्ट्रूमेंट बजा रहा है और उसके साथ गाना भी गा रहा है, थोड़ा लाउड है, तो वी टेंड टू डिस्ट्रीब्यूट मोर प्रेज. तो दैट इज नॉट अ fault, that comes naturally while distributing praise and criticism, but then we have to be very, very careful about distributing praise, because when we create differences while praising or while criticizing, that can affect the psyche of the students. So वो भी हमको ध्यान में रखना है. कैंपस के अंदर में हमारे सारे स्टूडेंट्स एक जैसे हैं, चाहे वो लड़का हो चाहे वो लड़की हो. तो if you are in a situation where you have both girl and boy students, you have to be more, more careful about distributing it. If you take it in the other way, praising and this, हम लोग क्या करते हैं, लड़कियों के वो गुण हमें दिखते हैं जो हम देखना चाहते हैं. अगर हमें लड़कियों में वो आर्टिस्टिक चीज देखनी है तो हम उसको देखते हैं, उसको नोटिस करते हैं उस लड़की में. अगर उस लड़की में हमें कुछ फाइन आर्ट्स की चीज हो, ऐसी कुछ चीजें हम नोटिस करते हैं जो कि हम लड़कियों के साथ जुड़ते हैं. लाइक वी एसोसिएट सर्टेन क्वालिटीज विथ गर्ल्स ओनली. Girls will be good singers, they will be good cooks, they will be, stereotyping this. So we tend to distribute praise also like that. हम लोग क्या करते हैं, हम लोग देख के बोलते हैं, wow, you've made such a nice rangoli, you should participate in the rangoli competition of youth festival. हम ये नहीं सोचते हैं कि वही लड़की जो रंगोली बनाती है, मे बी शी इज अ गुड डिब्यूट also. के लिए हम यूजुअली चूज करते हैं उस लड़के को जिसकी आवाज बहुत बुलंद हो, जो मे बी लॉजिकली बोल सकता है, जो ये लड़की भी हो सकता है करती है. What I'm trying to say is we focus on those qualities which we want to see in that particular students. और ये अक्सर होता है जब चॉइस की बारी आती है, then girls are put in compartments where they are asked to perform certain things जो कि बहुत ही लेडी लाइक हो, फेमिनिन हो, और बॉयज को उन चीजों में दिया जाता है जो कि मोर मैनली हो. So if it is a competition like say which has a lot of energy, like if it's a say if it's a sports event, and if it's an athletic event, so we first put in our boys, then we put in our girls. But if it's a, sometimes you know what happens, if it's a group event, एक ग्रुप इवेंट हो रहा है और उस ग्रुप इवेंट में लाइक नुक्कड़ नाटक हो रहा है, नुक्कड़ नाटक में हम लोग सिलेक्शन जब करते हैं तो वी हैव इन आवर माइंड दैट सो एंड सो हैज अ गुड वॉइस, सो एंड सो हैज अ गुड फिजिक, सो एंड सो कैन डू, एंड उस कैटेगरी में बॉयज फिट इन ज्यादा करते हैं, तो हम लोग हो सकता है कि हम लोग ऐसा भी कर सकते हैं. अगर आप एक ऑल बॉयज कॉलेज से हैं, ऑल गर्ल्स कॉलेज से हैं, तब तो ये सवाल आता ही नहीं है, because you don't have a choice. But if a college which has this type of co-educational system, तब हम लोग क्या करते हैं, कभी कभार, not all of us, I am not generalizing anything, I am just trying to put before you the mistakes that we make as teachers. Nothing more. I'm not criticizing any of you. Neither am I criticizing any one of the students. Nothing like that. हमारा हम वो देखना चाहते हैं जो हम देखना चाहते हैं. लड़कियों में ये बहुत सुशील लड़की है. We always use the word सुशील. We always use the word well mannered. We always use the word well behaved with girls. Why don't we use the word well behaved with a boy? For a boy, we say he's very intelligent, he's very good at sports, he's a good debater, he's a good javelin thrower, he's a good, leader. These are the qualities that we associate with boys. When we are distributing our praise towards girls, we say she's a very quiet student, she's very good in studies, she's a very sincere student, she's she does her work in time, she's very punctual. Those are the things that the qualities that we expect in our girl students, and those are the ways in which we praise our students. शायद आप आज के पहले इस बारे में नहीं सोचे होंगे, लेकिन जरा सोचिए हम लोग ये ऐसा करते हैं कि नहीं. व्हाट डू यू फील, ऐसा करते हैं? यस, एनीवन? Anyone would like to give any inputs? क्या हुआ, आप लोग सो गए?
नो मैम, नॉर्मली हम लोग करते हैं.
अच्छा, you seem to be Anita, no. You can put it in the chat box, it is easier to actually be in the chat box. हम लोग जैसे अपने आप को अनम्यूट करते हैं तो एको होने लगता है कभी कभार, लेकिन अच्छा भी लगता है, आपकी आवाज सुनना मुझे अच्छा लग रहा है. So that is Dr. Venkat Ramana. Okay, yes, ma'am. You agree that we do this? Dr. Venkat Ramana, were you there in the previous class on Monday?
Yeah, ma'am, I am attending. I am
And
following.
you're from which state?
I am from Karnataka, madam, Raichur district.
Okay, Raichur district.
Yeah, madam, following your class.
Okay. So, do you agree to what I am saying? Today I am speaking a little more Hindi. I hope it is not affecting any of you. ठीक है
Nothing.
ना? बरोबर है?
They are
भाई हिंदी
following.
इंग्लिश या हिंदी इंग्लिश बिकॉज बाइलिंगुअल भी होना है, डाइवर्सिटी में बाइलिंगुअल भी होना है. That is why.
Yeah, they are
Okay.
following, madam.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I'll just move on. Okay.
Thank you.
Now this is what does inclusion in higher education mean? So inclusion in higher education, as you can see from the slide, it means all sections of the society. And it also means meeting all expected goals of education. Higher education has some goals. Why do we send our children to schools? Why do we send our children to colleges? Why do we ask them to complete their education, graduation minimum, post-graduation maybe, or go for higher studies? Why is education, higher education, so very important? It is important because all the goals of education are completed or met with at that level. It is the tertiary level of education. Primary, you cannot meet all the goals. Secondary, same. At level, at the tertiary level, you are meeting all the goals. All the goals means you are making the person a complete individual. You are making the person fit for the society. You are making the person skilled and employable. So those are the goals of education. So here I have written all expected goals of education, that is the goals of education, and all sections of the society. That is very important. Previously, if you go back to 1950s, in 1950, our literacy rate was 9 or 10%. Today, our literacy rate is above 70%. Why have we achieved literacy rate after independence? Why didn't we achieve before independence? The answer is very simple. Before independence, education, especially higher education, was limited to a certain section of the society. सिर्फ ब्राह्मण लोग, हाई कास्ट वाले लोग और पैसे वाले लोग, they used to go for higher education. What happened to the remaining? Even the British, Macaulay system of education also spoke about the same thing. Education should only create clerks who will help the British government. Britishers were ruling India at that time. They did not want masters. They wanted petty clerks. So they kept education to a limited few. Those few who would help them to exist in India. जब ब्रिटिश चले गए, then it is then that we realize that our education is up to the mark. और इसी वजह से what we are having today as NEP 2020, even with all its flaws, all its challenges, all its drawbacks, all its shortcomings, it is welcome because at least we are addressing a very important issue, and that is higher education. Education as such. Because no growth can take place without health and education. So I move on to the situation that is there in India now. So I have the data from IASHE, All India Service Institutions, and that says that in 21-22, female enrollment crosses 2 crore mark. Now, what does 2 crore means? In a country of 140 crore, 2 crore means very less. But in 2021, 22, the very fact that we crossed 2 crore mark means that we have achieved one landmark. Then there is 38% increase in SC female, then ST females, their enrollment is going up. OBC females. How? In 2014-15, if we take as base year, 2021-22, we have gone up. 2014-15, we realized that our enrollment is very less. And in that year, the government started a policy of increasing the enrollment ratio. in different higher education institutions. 2014-15 में ग्रॉस एनरोलमेंट रेशियो बढ़ाया गया गवर्नमेंट की तरफ से, और इसके लिए क्या किया गया, व्हाट वाज डन increase enrollment. सबसे पहले they started opening more colleges. There were colleges even in rural areas. They opened colleges. Sometimes they opened model colleges, and in those in sometimes in existing colleges they started a second shift. In universities they started a second shift just to increase the enrollment. They wanted the enrollment to go up. They wanted more and more people to access higher education. That is very important. You have to access higher education. So in our country, people were not accessing higher education because it was a feeling that education is for the limited few. So to make education popular, 2014-15, we started by increasing our GER, gross enrollment rate. And that is given in the last point. Okay? See, increasing GER. But let me come to the second point. Gender parity index increased from 1 in 2017 to 1.05 in 2020-2021. Now, what is gender parity index? Any idea? Gender parity index क्या होता है? Anyone will? Any idea?
No, ma'am.
No. Okay. Gender parity का मतलब होता है, as from the name you get, फीमेल स्टूडेंट, मेल स्टूडेंट्स, दोनों में पैरिटी होना है. सो फीमेल इज टू मेल, दैट इज द इंडेक्स. फॉर every one female student there should be one male student. Here what happened, for every one female student, the number increased slightly. थोड़ी लड़कियां बढ़ गई है, 1 से 1.05 हो गया है. So that is the gender parity index which is increasing. ये और बढ़ेगा तो और अच्छा होगा. That means more and more female are enrolling in higher educational institutions. I'm talking only about higher education, not talking about school education. Higher education में female are getting enrolled more. In fact, in some states of India, it is the female who go for higher education, men don't go for higher education. क्या आप बता सकते हैं कि ऐसे कौन से states है जहां पर ज्यादा females higher education लेते हैं, men do not take higher education? एक भी state का नाम सकते हैं तो बताइए. एक भी स्टेट जहां पर फीमेल्स हायर एजुकेशन में जा रही है, मेल्स नहीं जा रहे हैं. Any one state?
ऐसा तो नहीं है मैडम, सब तरफ जा रहे हैं ना.
नहीं सर, ऐसा है. हायर एजुकेशन में अगर आप नॉर्थ ईस्ट के स्टेट्स को देखें तो नॉर्थ ईस्ट के हर स्टेट में फीमेल एनरोलमेंट ज्यादा है मेल से. और सर
हाँ है
आप
वहाँ
ना,
तो. हाँ
या
हाँ
इवन इन केरला इट इज लाइक दैट. नॉर्थ ईस्ट में तो है, केरला में भी है सर. और आप ना
वहाँ तो
इसको,
लिटरेसी
सॉरी,
रेट ज्यादा है. वहाँ लिटरेसी रेट ज्यादा है केरला में.
ओके. सो ये जो मैं बोल रही हूँ ये मेरी अपनी राय नहीं है. यू कैन जस्ट चेक विद द
और
आयाशे.
इसलिए आपकी ये
आयाशे
बात सही है.
पोर्टल.
हाँ बोलिए.
हाँ, तो आयाशे पोर्टल है सर, उसको उसमें आप चेक कर सकते हैं. AISHE आयाशे पोर्टल में आप चेक कर सकते हैं. तो उसमें हम देखते हैं कि फीमेल आर गोइंग मोर फॉर हायर एजुकेशन इन सम ऑफ द स्टेट्स ऑफ इंडिया, एंड इवन इन दोस हिंदी स्पीकिंग बेल्ट, वहां पर भी फीमेल एनरोलमेंट अभी बढ़ने लगा है. जैसे कि उत्तर प्रदेश, बिहार, हरियाणा, राजस्थान, पंजाब. पहले नहीं था, अभी बढ़ने लगा है. So in a way it is a very good thing that we are having more and more girls coming for higher education. But you know, Sunil, Dr. Sunil, kindly,
महाराष्ट्र में भी ये रेट अच्छा है मैडम.
sorry,
महाराष्ट्र में भी ये रेट ज्यादा है.
ये रेट ज्यादा है. Thank you, Dr. Sunil. Thank you for एडिंग टू माई नॉलेज, थैंक यू। या हाँ, हो सकता है, बहुत बहुत सारे जगह, इनफैक्ट ये ज्यादा स्टेट्स में ना लड़कियां ज्यादा है एनरोल्ड। Now the hurdles experienced by women teachers and researchers. Many of you are doctorates already. Some of you are pursuing your doctorate, no? Some of you are researchers. आप लोग रिसर्च कर रहे हो, जो लोग आज के क्लास में हो, many of you are still doing your PhD. Any one of you? Any one of you doing your PhD?
मैक्सिमम
Sorry? Any one of you who is still doing your PhD? All of you have done your PhD, I guess. Okay, fine. If there is a woman teacher, and if the woman teacher is also completed, madam, okay, many of you are complete, most of you have completed, because I can see doctor, 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 सब doctor दिख रहा है, लेकिन कभी कभार होता है कि maybe you have not completed, so I just asked. So the most biggest hurdle that a teacher or a researcher faces during research is, can't make your presence felt, and there is leaky pipelines. Leaky pipelines का मतलब ये होता है कि PhD complete नहीं होता. You are not able to complete your PhD. You are a girl, you are a woman, and you're trying to complete your PhD, but you're not able to complete your PhD because of certain circumstances. That can be your house, that can be your job, that can be your supervisor, lab, that can be anything. So here, that is that is what is called as leaky pipelines. So even if you have more women pursuing higher education, they don't end up completing their research maybe. So that is another thing that really we need to address. And NEP 2020 में research को लाया गया है in with undergraduate studies, so that if you're oriented towards research, you can start doing research from that level, and that will help you to complete it within the limited time. Otherwise, what happens? You do your masters, then you do your MPhil. Previously, that is what was being done. Abhi MPhil chala gaya hai. Previously, you did your masters, then you did your MPhil, then you did, if you didn't do your MPhil, you did your coursework in research, and then you started doing your research. By the time you were about to complete your research, your parents got you married, you started a family, you have to look after your family, you have to look after your in-laws. So your dream of completing your research sometimes may have filled. That is what is called as a leaky pipeline. ये बहुत common है with women. So now we are not only talking about women missing from, most of the women who are missing from higher education and research and teaching and other things are not common women, not women who come from privileged backgrounds. Mainly people who come from socially marginalized groups like rural people, tribal people, Dalit people, poor people, Muslim minorities, first generation learners. These are the people who are not included in some way or the others. So that is the challenge that we have in higher education. Now I'm talking of universities. You see, this is how the blue color shows the number of universities which has grown up, and the number of colleges is shown by this graph. And here I have, if you can just see that I have written plus 1453 colleges and plus 70 universities, which in the next year, I could not adjust the graph here. It was becoming big and I was not able to do this. So I put in this data that the present data says that there is plus 1453 colleges and plus 70 universities. So we are having a lot number of infrastructure as far as higher education is concerned. But what are we producing? What is the outcome? That we need to discuss. So what hinders inclusion in higher education? क्या कमी है? कहाँ पर कमी है? First is the lack of leadership. You don't have women leaders. You have to have women in leadership position. Only women leaders can think about bringing, you know, bringing women more to the forefront. So if you have topmost leadership mainly by men, then maybe some issues of gender will not be addressed. Second is insufficient resources. Government is sometimes very lax in distributing resources, or you don't get resources in time. For example, you want to start a new course this year in your college, and you're not able to start the course because of lack of funds, or you cannot set up a lab because you don't have the resources. It's like that. Then there's poor planning. Poor planning is very common in India. It exists in every sector of the society. So higher education is nothing different. In fact, education gets the least priority as far as planning is concerned. इसके बाद है lack of engagement across a university. A university, you know, the paraphernalia that is associated with the university, right from admission to leaving the university, it is not very engaging for a student. The student does not feel the need, the urge to go to the university. Now, अभी एक मूवी आई है, if you have seen the movie Oppenheimer, या आप लोगों ने देखा है Oppenheimer movie? Any one of you who has seen the movie? Have you seen this movie Oppenheimer? Abhi, it has come out in the halls and it is there. It's about the man who invented. देखा है इस मूवी को? किसी ने देखा है? No, madam. Okay. Venkat Narayana is saying no, madam. मैं इस मूवी का जिक्र क्यों कर रही हूँ? Why I am talking about this movie? Here also the man who made atom bomb, Oppenheimer, is the man. He was a teacher, physics teacher. So when he goes to the class, there is only one student who has taken up his subject. And he is such a good teacher that gradually he has a class full of students. What I'm trying to say is that the teacher should be engaging. Inclusivity to tab aayegi when students feel attracted towards a teacher. Attracted in the sense attracted by the way the teacher is teaching or how the classes are being held. So there is lack of engagement here. Here it is more of a routine कि हमें अभी इस क्लास में जाना है, इनका लेक्चर है. हम कभी ये नहीं चॉइस करते कि we don't want to go to that person's class, we want to go to some other person's class because that person gives a better lecture. ये हमारे यूनिवर्सिटी सिस्टम में नहीं है. We can't afford, we don't have the resources, we don't have so many, we have more students, we have less teachers. In the West they have more teachers, so there is a difference. Okay, when we have a non-balanced approach to priorities, our priorities are different. As I said, we don't value education in the way that it should be valued. इसीलिए हमारा लास्ट प्रायोरिटी एजुकेशन रहता है. सब कुछ खर्चा होने के बाद एजुकेशन, है ना? तो ये कॉमन सी बात है. पहले जमाने में भी होता था कि धोबी का खर्चा निकालो, दूध वाले का खर्चा निकालो, फिर सब्जी वाले का खर्चा निकालो, एंड देन टीचर का भी खर्चा निकालो. So teacher comes after dhobi and dudwala and sabji wala. It is like that. We cannot set our priorities right. So if you're not setting our priorities right, obviously the teacher will not be able to give the 100% to the students. Many of our teachers are still in that category where they are called as part-time teachers, where they are called as contractual teachers. Don't feel the university, and which is a very bad thing for the university, which is a very bad thing for the students also. Then viewing inclusion as a simple quick fix rather than sustained ongoing practice. What we think of inclusion is that हम लोग भर्ती कर लेंगे. We are giving, chance to ST students. We have a reservation policy. Every college, every university should have a reservation policy. Reservation policy means you are admitting so many ST students, so many SC students, so many OBC students, so many minority students. For your data, you show that you have done your duty. But it is a quick fix solution. It is not a sustained ongoing practice. You are not taking care to see whether the student is completing education. सिर्फ एनरोलमेंट से एजुकेशन नहीं होगा, एनरोलमेंट में तो एंट्री होगी. The student will complete education and go beyond the gate of the university only when the student has the degree. To ensure that the student has the degree, it should be a sustained and ongoing practice. Am I clear? Then there is lack of staff support, either in terms of staff not promoting inclusion or faculty not the need from management. Okay. So how can we offer inclusion benefits to students? First and foremost, we have to regard all students as learning partners. Talking about their experiences, learning partners, they are not students and you are not teachers, they are learning partners. So when you are on the same platform, they are your partners, then you have a better accountability. Second, provide accessible to all online learning platform. This is what is being done now. There is NPTEL. आप लोग जानते हैं NPTEL के बारे में? NPTEL और स्वयं, मूक्स, ये सब आप सुने होंगे?
हाँ मैडम.
Yes, ma'am.
सुने हैं ना? ये सब accessible online platform है उन students के लिए, those students who are not able to come to the classroom physically, they can also access platform. What will happen? Then there will be more inclusivity. Maybe some person is not able to come to the classroom physically because the person is working or the person stays in a very remote area. But the person is attending online class and completing education means that we are being inclusive in our approach. Then third is maintain accessibility within those materials. So what do? We should ensure that whatever material is given, it should be in plain English, not too very difficult language. Sometimes it can be bilingual also, or in the regional language so that the students can understand better. Then ensure reading lists are created from wide variety of demographic backgrounds. Now, if I give a reading list to my students, ki ye kitab padho, and out of 10 kitab, 8 of them are foreign authors. What will my students understand? Because they hardly know some English, and that too reading an English book written by a foreign author may be difficult. तो उनके लिए मुझे ऐसे किताब देने हैं जिसमें कि regional language ho, local language ho, so that the students are able to understand better. You can record lectures and seminars and make them useful to the students later on at a later date. And finally, create a diverse number of learning opportunities as methods of assessment. So not only teaching, even methods of assessment can be different. Give them projects, give them term paper, give them short tests, which are quizzes. These are the things. Don't wait for them to just appear in that exam, which is, a rote learning process where they are just scoring marks. Devise your own methods of assessment, and I think that will help them too in their overall growth. So what are the teaching tips on gender equity? Avoid stereotyping. Please don't ask your girl student to give the flower bouquet to the chief guest. Make a boy student give the flower bouquet and put a girl in charge of the computer. Tell her to handle the PPT. And that is how you are breaking stereotypes. खाना परोसने का जिम्मा लड़कों को दीजिए. They are very good at serving. You see, in all big hotels, it is the boys who serve. So give them the khana padosne wala thing, and put the women in a different category. Put the girl students in a different category. Give them finance. And that you have to give me the entire, entire utilization after the seminar is over. So you are ब्रेकिंग स्टीरियोटाइप्स, डोंट स्टीरियोटाइप। लड़की है रंगोली बनाएगी, नहीं, लड़का है रंगोली बनाएगा। लड़की है वो मैनेज करेगी कंप्यूटर, वो देखेगी साउंड सिस्टम है परफेक्ट है या नहीं, वो देखेगी फ्लेक्स कहाँ लगना है, वो देखेगी स्टैंडीज कहाँ लगाना है, वो देखेगी कि केटरर ने खाना दिया है कि नहीं। All those, give them those types of jobs that as a teacher you can break the stereotypes. You can promote integration, include everybody in the group. Don't only take the more active people. There are people who are very active but they'd like to remain inactive. Treat equally but respect learning differences. Some of them may be very good at studies. We tend to be more biased towards them. जो अच्छे हैं पढ़ाई में हम उन्हीं पर ध्यान देते हैं, जो फर्स्ट बेंच पे बैठते हैं हम उन्हीं पर ध्यान देते हैं। लास्ट बेंच वालों को फर्स्ट पे बिठा के देखिए, एक दिन में आपको डिफरेंस पता चल जाएगा। प्रोवाइड स्ट्रॉन्ग रोल मॉडल्स, so you yourself are a role model. You, by doing things in your own way, you will become a role model. Promote equal opportunities. Everyone should have an equal opportunity. Maybe coming from a rural background, maybe coming from a non-English or a bilingual a regional language background, doesn't matter. Maybe coming from a government school. Give that person a chance to anchor rather than a person coming from a public school or a convent school. Make students achievement private. Student का achievement is a very private thing and that should be appreciated. उसको हम, आप सबों ने अच्छा किया, हम बोलते हैं, we don't take names, but sometimes taking names also helps. They feel, that they are liked, they are appreciated. Avoid segregating activities. This is what I told you. Don't say that this work is done by boys will do this work, girls will do this work. No, don't segregate activities. सबके ऊपर छोड़ दीजिए and see, you will see that your students will come up with their own thing. Yeah, हम लोग कर देंगे, and there you will notice a difference that girls are taking up tougher jobs maybe. Finally, use wait time. What is wait time? Wait time is the time that you give to get an answer. जैसे मैं आप लोगों को सवाल पूछ रही हूँ and I give you a wait time of say 30 seconds and I expect an answer to come up in 30 seconds or maybe 1 minute. क्या होता है in a class when you don't give wait time? Sometimes the students are too scared to speak up immediately after a question is asked. So at least give them a wait time. आप उनको 60 seconds दीजिए, 1 minute दीजिए. Let them think over it and let them come up with an answer. So wait time is very important. This will break the taboo and allow the students to speak freely. Okay. So now we come to differences in culture, cultural expectation. Language is a big part of our culture. You see, I come from a state, West Bengal, in that tumi in Marathi, tumi is aap. So in West Bengal, if a student comes to a teacher, the teacher will refer to the student as tum maybe, because it means tumi means, which means tum, you. But I teach in a state of Jharkhand where we don't ever say tum to any student. We refer to every student as aap because that is the culture. So language is a part of culture difference. Whatever you are speaking, whether it is a teacher who is addressing the student or whether it is a teacher, the student that is addressing the teacher, that should be there. I mean, that is there in different regions and that should be understood. If I am working in Maharashtra, to me is different to me. If I am working in Punjab, tu, Punjab mein tu is very common. Everyone is referred to as tu, but tu is considered to be a gali in West Bengal. Why should someone say tu? So language, that is very important. Secondly, sometimes we address our elders. How do we address our elders? Either Didi or Dada or Bhaiya or whatever it is. That is part of our culture. We use that when we speak in our language. That should be understood because there's cultural difference. So a teacher who is from Bihar and that teaching in Goa, what happens? The teacher from Bihar may not be very fluent in English, but may be highly educated, teaching in a state in Goa totally in English. That teacher may be at a loss. तब क्या करेंगे? That teacher has to adapt to the state. Otherwise, the teacher will not be on the same page as the students. Then there is cultural difference in attitudes and beliefs. Sometimes we touch the feet of our teachers. Sometimes we shake hands with the teachers. Sometimes we just wish them good morning, good afternoon, whatever it is. So it is a difference in attitudes, it's a difference in belief. That also should be understood and perceived well by the teacher before the teacher goes into the campus. And finally, the opportunity gap versus achievement gap. Opportunity is what opportunity you're giving them, and the outcome is the achievement. Sometimes what happens, there's a big gap between opportunity. You're not giving opportunity and you're experimenting. But sometimes what happens, you're giving lots of opportunity and there is a very little achievement. That also might happen. So the gap should be well balanced. Opportunity and the achievement that they are having, whether uh, in the campus or beyond the campus. Okay. Then I talk about inclusiveness in girl education. In girl education, we have to take care of gender equity. We have to take care of gross enrollment rate, GER. We have to talk about STEM subjects. We also have to talk about dropout rates. Now, why did I bring up STEM subjects? What are STEM subjects? I'm giving you wait time. STEM subjects क्या है? Yes. What is STEM subject?
Science and technology, ma'am.
Yes. Prajakta?
Nande.
Yeah. Please continue, Prajakta.
Subjects under the stream of science and technology. They are mainstream subjects. Am I right or wrong? I don't know.
Yes. STEM is science, technology,
Engineering
engineering,
and management, I think. Yes.
mathematics actually.
Mathematics. Okay, okay.
Yeah. So these four subjects are not taken up by the girl students. They are avoided. Not because the girls don't have the brains, because the society thinks that the girls should not take up these subjects. ऐसा होता है. I don't know how many of you are women teachers over here. How many of you are coming from pure science background? How many of you have taken up physics or technology, engineering or math? ऐसा है कोई? Any of you? A woman who has taken up and is doing this course here?
Yes, ma'am. I'm from pure science.
You're from pure science, Dr. Mamta. Very good.
Yes.
Hats off to you, Dr. Mamta. You have broken the stereotype. Actually, what happens, Dr. Mamta? Your subject is?
Now I'm teaching chemistry,
Hmm.
but I'm a student of pure science.
Pure science. So chemistry is also pure science only.
Yes.
Yeah. So what happens generally, the concept that there's a misconception that women are, after all, they will get married, they'll settle down, they will not be doing jobs. Even if they're doing jobs, they'll do just teaching jobs. Teaching jobs, are, and that too, they will not be too ambitious. They will not do much of research. So why put the students go through all this? And these are the tough subjects. For that, they will have to give tuition to the girl child. Giving tuition means sending the girl to the tutor's home or tutor's coaching class. All these things prevent parents from allowing the girls to take up these subjects. So enrollment in these subjects is fairly less compared to enrollment in social science and humanities. सबसे ज्यादा डिमांड किस सब्जेक्ट का है सर मैम बोलिए तो आपके कॉलेज में? You all come from different colleges. Then I'll tell you मेरे कॉलेज में सबसे ज्यादा किस सब्जेक्ट का डिमांड है. किस सब्जेक्ट का डिमांड? You can write also. In your
Actually, I am
exam.
from science college, ma'am. So every science subject has equal
Equal demand. Equal
equal
demand for
demand.
physics, maths, chemistry, सब में equal demand.
Yeah, but recently microbiology is
That's
going high.
wonderful. हाँ, बोलिए इसमें ज्यादा है.
Madam, at Jadavpur University, computer science and engineering is highest sought after subject.
Yes, computer
And
science
there are
and
a lot of
engineering.
girls who are studying engineering in all aspects, in all
Yes,
branches. We have 16
yes.
branches, and everywhere there are women. So I do
Okay.
not see there is a great problem regarding women participation in
I
our
know.
universities and institutes in
Yes.
Kolkata as well as in other parts in Bengal. Thank you.
Yes. Shivashish, you've done your PhD, your Dr. Shivashish?
Yes, I did it in 2008.
Okay. So, Dr. Shivashish, I totally agree with you. West Bengal is a little different from the other states, mainly because here you find girl enrollment to be higher, dropout rates to be lower. Okay. Correct me if I am saying something wrong. The enrollment is
Right.
higher,
Right.
dropout rate is lower,
Very
the
low.
marriageable age is also higher, and girls
Right.
go for any choice of any subject. That's not a taboo.
Right.
Dr. Shivashish, if you had just gone out of West Bengal, just go to the nearby state of Jharkhand or Bihar, go to UP, go to Haryana, go to Punjab, Rajasthan, you'll find that women are more, inclined towards those subjects
Okay.
which their parents want them to take up, the society wants them to take
Right.
up. English honors.
Mhm.
You study English honors because you will become a good, marriageable, person.
Okay.
Any IS officer would like his wife to be an English officer, English honors person because, and here there is a craze for administrative services because the person will be able to speak good English. So that is the concept that is there in the Hindi belt. But
Okay.
that is unfortunately, it is there here. It is not there in the south. It is not there in Maharashtra, maybe. It is not there in Kerala. It's not there in Tamil. Those where women are going in large numbers for medicine, for tougher things. They're going, even in medicine, they're going for surgery. That
Right.
is the toughest. So this is a paradigm shift that is happening now. And we have to encourage this paradigm shift. We have to reduce dropout rates. We have to increase enrollment in STEM subjects. We have to talk about gender equity. So what can the institution do? So the institution will have, it should go for an egalitarian practice. And how we should ensure safety within the campus, there should be gender champions and gender budgeting. So what is gender budgeting? Gender budgeting is you make an infrastructural arrangement that so much of your annual budget of your institution is for this purpose. For this first means you are for the students, you're making a washroom, ladies washroom for the lady teachers. Even if there is one or two teachers, you are doing certain things like you're giving them leave on special days. There's something called special leave. Budgeting will also include that. Gender budgeting means you're allocating funds for even outreach activities. If there are women in the community who need help, then you are helping out that. You keep a part of your budget for community service. You keep a part of your budget for the nearby school which has a midday meal scheme, and maybe you are doing that. So gender budgeting, which is very much there in Kerala. In Kerala, in Thiruvananthapuram, Gender budgeting is done in a very nice way. All other states should follow that. So gender budgeting must be there within the main budget of the institution. We should also promote financial literacy of the students, of the teachers. How do you do that? For the students, give them scholarship directly to own bank account. Don't give it through their parents directly, and usually it comes directly to their own account. Now the STC scholarship schemes that the students get, that comes directly to their account. So you are encouraging financial literacy, you are uh, giving them help, and also allowing them to access, institutions, financial institutions like banks. You can create support circles for women, give them mental health support. That is very important, which is often, looked down upon or neglected in our society. Mental health is very important. And addressing representation of women in leadership position. I feel that women should be in leadership position because women really make good leaders. If they can run a house, they can also run a college, they can also run a department, they can also run an institution. It's not a big deal. Only thing, you have to have the right person over there. So how do you understand diversity in higher education institution? You begin with the social diversity at the lowest level. What is social diversity? When a student is filling up a form, he is asked to fill up whether he is a male or a female or SC or ST or whatever it is. That is social diversity. With the social diversity, the student enters the institution and enters your classroom. In classroom, you identify academic diversity because in your mind, you also who are good performers, you also have those students who are not so good performers. So there are fast learners, there are slow learners, there is academic diversity in terms of result, in terms of performance. That is the second stage of diversity. And the last or the topmost level of this pyramid is the social inclusion, which tries to address both the diversities of academic and social diversity. So I've kept it at the topmost level. I've marked it as in bold and in bigger font because it is inclusive of these two diversities. There will be diversity, but then we all have to move towards this goal, and this is how we will have to address also. So, what are the manifestations? One is access to higher education by income levels. People who have lesser incomes don't have access. There's regional disparity. There's rural-urban disparity. Because what type of rural-urban? Now, imagine a situation. We are talking about our students who are coming from rural background. गांव से कोई लड़का पढ़ने आ गया शहर में, उसको अंग्रेजी नहीं उसको नहीं आते हैं. He will feel out of place in a college like St. Stephen's College, Delhi. St. Stephen's College, Delhi is a premier institution. या फिर IISc Bangalore, the topmost institution. वहां जाके he might feel out of place कि मुझे बोलना नहीं आता है, समझ में तो सब कुछ आ जाता है because I am from a remote village in Bihar. Same thing can happen to a teacher also. A teacher from Bihar may have studied, is a very good student, may have studied, may have cleared the, interview and have become a faculty in a premier institute. Think of the teacher, उसके लिए भी तो वो एक अड़चन आ जाता है. Even the teacher is not able to face the students. He has a low self-esteem because he comes from a remote area, from a village. He can speak only in his regional language. He cannot speak fluently in English. So that may prove to be a hindrance. But that is, that is there. The manifestation is evident over there in the campus. And that is what we need to address. We also have social disparities. We have underrepresentation in the postgraduate level of studies. We have underrepresentation in prestigious and elite institutions. We have gender represented less. If we go to and you take the database of all the IITs, you'll find in the IITs, women form a small number in comparison to the men students in all the streams. Like, especially the core streams like civil engineering, then mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, metallurgy, all these have fewer number of girl students. Uh, Even at graduation level, they may be there, but for MTech, I'm talking about post-graduation level, it goes down. Okay. And underrepresentation of students from socially disadvantaged group. If there are people from SC, ST group, they are not presented well in. So that is another thing. So now what do? We create a chain of inequalities. Inequalities in access to higher education institution. This will lead to inequalities in access to labor market information. We are not aware of what our, employing chances of employability are. The world market seeks more labor in which direction, whether in computer science or whether in electronics or whether in programming. We are not, because if we don't take admission, we will not be aware. Then inequalities in employment and participation in labor market. So if we are not educated, we don't have information, obviously we will not be there in the labor market, international labor market. This will have inequalities in earning, and this will lead to socio-economic and political inequalities. The other day I was talking about gender discrimination, where I said that women participation in labor force is less, women's earnings are less, women's ownership is less, and they all translate into socio-economic inequality. We are in a vicious chain of inequalities because we don't have gender equality. Now we come to NEP 2020. What does NEP 2020 tell us? So this is there in 14.3 of NEP 2020. There's a manual. It's a 60-page manual. All of you can download it, and it is there in the manual. We talk about equity and inclusion. What is equity and inclusion? There are certain facets of exclusion that are particular to or substantially more intense in higher education. And these must be addressed specifically and include lack of knowledge of higher educational opportunities. So our students do not have sufficient knowledge about higher education institution, because the society does not allow them access most of the time. Economic opportunity of pursuing, for most of them it is very expensive. They say that आगे पढ़ना नहीं संभव है because पेरेंट्स बोल रहे हैं कि इतना पैसा नहीं दे पाएंगे. You have to tell them, you have to convince them कि नहीं बेटा, आपको पैसों की जरूरत नहीं है, ये स्कॉलरशिप है, आप इसके लिए अप्लाई करो, आपको स्कॉलरशिप मिल जाएगी, आप पढ़ाई जारी रखो. As a teacher हम लोग ये कर सकते हैं, because this is something, that many of our students come and say कि I am stopped from continuing my education because of financial constraint. Even the admission process, they're aware of the admission stuff, geographical and language barriers are there. They're very scared of that. They're not. Then there is poor employability potential of many higher education programs. Many of the higher education programs that we are presently running in the country are not giving good job opportunities. So now the NEP 2020 is thinking of changing the pattern of how we look at education, trying to focus more on skill, so that we give them some skill when they leave the premises of our institution. If they have some skill, maybe that is the student support mechanism that we can give them. So kindly go to this portion. It is the most important part of this entire lecture, what the NEP is trying to do. Now the NEP has a lot more to say. That I've just given so many things. See, there are things like you have to make the curriculum more inclusive. You have to use Indian languages, teach bilingually, दोनों भाषा में आपको बोलना है, हिंदी इंग्लिश दोनों. डिसएडवांटेज एजुकेशनल बैकग्राउंड से जो आते हैं उनके लिए ब्रिज कोर्स होना चाहिए. देन we have to ensure gender sensitization. Then there should be no discrimination, anti-harassment rules. We already have anti-ragging rules and all. So these are the areas of intervention that we have to address them. How do we do this? How do we ask girl students to come from villages to towns to study? हम उनके लिए हॉस्टल्स बना सकते हैं, उनको हॉस्टल में वो दे सकते हैं, जब वो हॉस्टल में रह के अपनी पढ़ाई जारी रखे, लो कॉस्ट में कर सकते हैं. ये सब हो सकता है. कुछ स्किल दे सकते हैं, उनको एनकरेज कर सकते हैं कि आप कुछ सीखो. So these are how we can do. And this is on 1st March. This is a conclusion that I wrote, that it's imperative to take a step forward the momentum of empowerment of girls and women through education in all institutes. In particular, it's time to focus on the inclusion of female participants. Okay, and finally, I end with Swamiji's quotation that it's impossible to think about the welfare of a country or the world unless the condition of a woman is improved. So I began with gender, I end with gender, and these are some of my references that I've used for both my lectures. These are some of the books that I have used, and my lectures are heavily borrowed from these books. And with this, I end my sharing. I think I've ended on time. I still have 2 minutes, 3 minutes left, Preeti ma'am. I'd love to have some feedback, some question.
Yes,
I
madam.
don't know. Yeah. So there were some.
Participants, how you like the session, and please, your feedback is welcome.
Yeah. I can see some in the chat box. Yes, madam, no, madam, and girls perform better, boys is less. Okay, okay. Yeah. So
Any
anything?
question? Yeah, any question or any feedback from your side? Participant, please unmute yourself.
Madam, your teaching is so good, with so rich and meticulously prepared content that there is no question I need to ask.
No
It's very
question.
good.
Very
No question.
patiently, madam,
Everything
you
is clear.
explained every point. Very
Yeah,
patiently,
there
you
are
have
many
explained all the
issues
points.
that I have known now. It's much better for me to know such things like this. Okay, thank you very much, madam.
Thank you so much, sir. And really, India is such a diverse country that when we are in this type of a classroom, when we have people from different states, like Maharashtrians can have their own experiences they can share. You just shared your experience from West Bengal, which is so different from the experiences that people have from Bihar and UP. So that is something. So Dr. Venkat Narayan, you are from Karnataka, Raichur district. So any feedback from you, Dr. Venkat Narayana?
Yeah, madam. Venkatramana and Venkat Narayana are from the same college, madam.
Same college.
One is from the Department of Economics and another from the Department of Commerce. We are very efficient, very meaningfully learned many things from your lecture, madam.
Thank you.
So many things regarding the diversity in the higher education, ma'am. Thank you for your.
Okay, and please keep in mind, we also talked about NEP 2020
Yes.
because
Ah,
in
ma'am.
many states, NEP 2020 will be implemented soon. There are, so many ideas, but
Correct.
I suggest you go back and download it from the net, NEP 2020. That will help you to clear your ideas
Madam,
as to what.
the state are implemented the national education policy. NEP.
Okay, Karnataka has implemented. Okay. And both of you are from Raichur district only, no?
I'm from same college, Raichur
Same
district.
college.
Same college.
Okay. I did part of my education in Belgaum. Now
Yeah.
it's Belgaum.
Yes.
I did.
One district in the Karnataka.
Mm.
Thank you, madam. Thank you very much
So,
for it.
ನಮ್ಗೆ ಕನ್ನಡ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಬರುತ್ತೆ.
Thank you, madam.
Okay, so
Yes, madam.
anyone else? My मराठी भाई बंधु, आप लोग सब ठीक है?
Participants from Maharashtra.
इस सर का बहुत आवाज आ रही है ना?
रेखा मैडम जब ऑन करते हैं तब इको आता है।
हाँ, कुछ आप ना लॉग आउट करके फिर से लॉग इन करेंगे तो
जी,
ठीक
जी।
रहेगा।
यस मैडम।
सिस्टम में ये
बाकी
होता है।
पार्टिसिपेंट्स कुछ फीडबैक देना है महाराष्ट्रियन फ्रॉम महाराष्ट्र।
Yes, ma'am.
जी बोलिए।
Your lecture was very informative regarding about the diversity, because generally we don't think about these things. What should we include? I'm most like the gender budgeting allocation. So we can improve this thing at our college. So this is the
At
most
policy, Dr. Mamta, at policy level. If you are in
yeah.
IQAC, you can suggest this. This can be
Yes,
done at
ma'am.
policy level. The management
Yes.
can take up this and do. And gender auditing is also not only budgeting, even auditing is done.
Yeah.
ऑडिटिंग में आपको
exactly.
पता होना चाहिए कि इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर में क्या क्या है, पैसों फंड्स में क्या क्या हो रहा है, एक्सक्लूसिवली फॉर गर्ल्स. सो दैट
Yes.
इज जेंडर ऑडिटिंग भी होता है, जेंडर बजटिंग भी होता है. जेंडर इज सच अ इंटरेस्टिंग एंड डाइवर्स सब्जेक्ट ना, तो इसमें ऑल मल्टीडिसिप्लिनरी है, एवरीवन कैन कम इन. एंड मैडम प्रीति हैज आल्सो बिकम एन एक्सपर्ट. मैडम प्रीति तो कराती रहती है, सो नाउ यू
Yes.
become an expert in यही होता है. So I think
Exactly.
we are done. Can I take my leave now? Thank you
Yes,
so
madam.
much
Thank
once
you so
again
much,
for
madam,
this.
once again for such an
Okay.
enlightening session. So
Yeah.
thank you once
So
again, ma'am.
I just have one request. Can you please switch on your this thing? I just
Camera.
want to see your face for camera for 1 minute. You just switch on your camera. वो होने से
Participants, if
please,
possible, please on
participants,
your videos.
please थोड़ी, just only for 1 second. आप लोग थोड़ा पर चेहरा, because we don't even know when we'll meet again. और इसमें thank you so much all of you. Please Ajay and Dr. Mamta, I cannot see you.
रोहिणी मैडम ने ऑन किया है, पूजा दाड़े
Yeah.
मैडम.
हाँ,
अजून
कुछ
कोणी आहे का? यस.
हम्म.
और कोई अगर कर सकता है तो प्लीज ऑन योर वीडियोस.
Okay, very nice. हाँ, Venkatramana has also switched on the video. Thank you so much.
ममता मैडम
It
ने
was
भी ऑन किया है.
बहुत 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 अच्छा लग रहा है आप लोगों को देख के. 2 दिन हम आपसे मिले लेकिन हम आपका चेहरा नहीं देखे, तो मुझे भी अजीब लग रहा है कि कभी हम लोग मिलेंगे तो हम लोग एक दूसरे को पहचानेंगे भी नहीं. So
अनिका
thank you
मैडम
so
इज
much.
देयर. या.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
once again, ma'am. Thank you from
Thank
all of you. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you all the participants. Now we will meet for our next session at 1:30. Our next session will be on the topic Indian knowledge system, and that will be covered by Acharya Shreyas Kurekar sir. तो थोड़ा सा अपना जेंडर सेंसिटाइजेशन से अलग टॉपिक है, बट रिपोर्ट सबमिशन में आपको उसके बारे में भी थोड़ा सा एब्स्ट्रैक्ट लिखना है. पहले सेशन का भी अभी जो खत्म हुआ, और जो सेकंड सेशन है दैट विल बी ऑन इंडियन नॉलेज सिस्टम. He will talk about just an overview of IKS, why there is need to inculcate IKS in our daily teaching and learning process. तो वो भी टॉपिक है, लेकिन it is not related to our gender sensitization. It is given in the UGC guideline. From this year itself, we have to incorporate Indian knowledge system topics in orientation and refresher courses as well as in short-term program. So I have included that topic for today's session. In the afternoon at 1:30 we will meet. So that is the topic on Indian knowledge systems. So we will meet at 1:30 for our next session. Have you marked your attendance in the Moodle site?
Yes,
Everyone?
Yes, madam.
ओके. चलिए यहाँ पे रुकते हैं. मैं 1:15 बजे फिर से मीटिंग शुरू करूंगी. वी विल मीट फॉर आवर नेक्स्ट सेशन. थैंक यू ऑल ऑफ यू.